Hey guys, Matt Miller here with PolitiBrawl News. Watch Sean Hannity take down this woke PETA spokesperson and exposes her as a hypocrite live on Fox News. Watch it right here.
In a news release last week, the animal rights organization suggesting that Punxsutawney Phil, that's the groundhog who predicts whether there will be, whether it's going to be a long winter or early spring, and the star of the show, be replaced by a, quote, weather reveal cake, similar to a popular gender reveal cake trend. PETA cited that groundhogs are shy animals who actively avoid humans and criticized the exploitive use of Punxsutawney Phil as a, quote, a town's once-a-year fake meteorologist. Here with more, PETA spokesperson Ashley Byrne. By the way, last time you were on, we went long in the previous segment. I did not cut you off early, as some in the press had said. We're glad to have you back. I have a question before we get started. Before we get started, do you support any limitations on abortion?
You know, PETA doesn't take a stance on abortion any more than Operation Rescue takes a stance on veganism.
Well, wait a minute. But you care about, ethical treatment of animals. Do you support any restrictions on late-term abortion? This would be months 7, 8, and 9 when a child is viable outside a mother's womb on its own. Do you support? That practice?
We represent people on both sides of that issue. We are not a political organization.
I didn't ask you.
We're nonpartisan.
You care so much about animals. I'm wondering if you care about human animals.
Of course we care about humans, and we represent humans on both sides of the abortion issue.
So a viable child, you don't care, that could live outside a mother's womb, you don't care about that person?
You know, Planned Parenthood, Operation Rescue, no one asks them what their stance on animal rights is.
You don't have the courage to say that a viable child inside a mother's womb that could live outside the womb is a life that should be protected, but you're worried about a groundhog. That doesn't make sense. I have another question.
Sure.
So, okay, my understanding is that you communicated to my staff that you want me to be on a plant-based diet. Is that true?
We would love to send you a plant-based meal so that you could see how delicious vegan
What's going to be in it?
You know, I'm not sure.
Juicy steak?
You know, there is delicious, juicy vegan keto steak that we could send you. It's fabulous.
A what steak?
It's a vegan steak. You know, Sean, I used to love steak.
I'm sure it's great.
I used to love rare, bloody steak, and the vegan steaks now are fantastic.
It's delicious.
It really is.
So let me ask you a question. A serious question. Mm-hmm. Is a plant a living? Are plants living?
Of course.
Okay, so you want to send me a murdered plant?
Well, you know, every time you eat an animal, you eat the product of far more murdered plants. You need to feed an animal a lot of plants to get a tiny bit of meat. I love that you care so much about plants' rights, but it's, it's just basic
Listen,
math.
one of the reasons they couldn't get California water, and this is not a joke, is because of a plant they were protecting that is endangered. All right, let's go to
the other reason is the dairy industry, which
and
sucks up so much of their water.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. I'll try your plant-based diet if you eat a medium-rare steak that I send you.
You know, Sean, I ate many medium-rare steaks in the past. I'm very happy with my vegan steak now, and like I said, we'd love to send you one. I would never do that because I know that cows go kicking and screaming to their deaths.
Steak. I mean, I'll eat the plant-based steak, garbage, whatever you're going to send me, and you eat my steak.
Sean, a cow goes kicking and screaming to her death to make that steak. I don't want anything to do with that.
You don't want anything to do with it. Well, how do you know plants don't feel pain?
You know, again, first of all, plants don't have a central nervous system. They don't scream when you cut them. And again, you have to feed a lot of plants to an animal to get a very small amount of meat. So if you're concerned about hurting plants, you still want to go vegan.
No, I'm not really. I think God gave us dominion over the animals, and I believe they were put on this earth for our use, and that's my belief. All right, last question.
Sean, I've been reading the Bible my entire life, and don't you think that dominion implies some responsibility, as opposed to the way we desecrate God's creation in slaughterhouses and on factory farms, living in their own waste?
The apostles
confined so they can't turn
nets
around?
Got filled with fish. Are you saying Jesus murdered the fish?
I think that Jesus would look at an animal who can't turn around in a gestation crate and would not be okay with it. It goes against all
the crowds.
Yes, but
fish
a pig,
and loaves. But I
factory
have
farm
to go.
Is a desecration of God's creation.
I'm out of. All right, your interpretation of the Bible. More Hannity straight ahead.
So maybe she has a point about the way animals are treated, leading up to the point where we turn them into delicious food. I kind of sympathize with that. I like to think of the animals, the cows and the chickens running around freely on a nice open farm before they are then turned into a delicious steak or chicken sandwich. The other point that Hannity questioned her on, I think she totally fumbled. She basically admitted that she's totally agnostic to abortion. PETA doesn't have a stance on it, but they care so much about animals. They care about so much how animals are processed or how they're treated. And they are so zealous about that point, but they don't care at all, or they don't have any comments when it comes to abortion. How is that the case? These are human beings. These are human babies that are being aborted, millions of them. And people who are so radically compassionate, as to put it generously, as PETA, they don't have a comment on that. How can they be agnostic on that issue, right? They're so selective with their compassion and their goodwill towards animals, but they don't care. So, and it's because, of course, reading between the lines here, people who are involved with PETA tend to be on the left. They tend to be the activist types, the people who are really, really energized and zealous about certain issues, climate issues, social justice issues, things like that. They would never admit that, or they would never support a pro-life position. Very, very few of them would. And they tend to be in that category of people on the left who agree with all of those issues, right? Pro-Palestine, probably. Climate change is going to ruin the world. I guess this is stereotyping or generalizing here, but it just tends to be the case. And that's why I think PETA doesn't have a position on that. It's because they'd alienate a lot of the people who participate in PETA and are involved in that organization because they are actually pro-choice. And I think it's a great question for Hannity to ask. How do you care so much about how animals are treated or how they're killed or whatever, but you don't care at all about human babies that are being killed before they even have a chance at life? I think this was a wonderful way to expose this woman for a deep-seated hypocrisy that her and her organization have. And I don't know, maybe she should have taken up Hannity on his offer to eat a vegan steak, whatever that's made out of. It sounds horrible. And all she had to do was eat just one last steak, a real cow-made steak, and maybe she could have had a convert. Maybe Hannity loved the vegan steak and then all of a sudden had an epiphany to become vegan and to join PETA, and then she could have converted Sean Hannity on Fox News, one of the biggest names out there, to be pushing, pro-PETA propaganda. So this reminds me of a time where Jesse Waters actually invited a vegan onto his show, and she had written an op-ed or made a claim that eating meat was a way of perpetuating toxic masculinity, and that the meat industry or eating a steak and the symbolism behind that put forward this toxic, masculine, anti-feminist sort of energy. So what he did was he invited her on the show, sat down and ate a steak right in front of her. It was one of the most hilarious clips ever.
Fundamentally political acts.
Okay.
Right? The personal is political.
Okay. So I'm having a steak right now because I'm starving.
I hear you. I wish I could have half of that, but this doesn't look vegan, and I'm trying to be vegan.
You're a vegan?
It's really hard because I don't know if I told you I'm from Wisconsin.
Okay.
And cheese was like one of my favorite things.
See, that looks pretty good. That's a little rare, medium rare.
Yeah.
Is
got
this
some nice dead animal, dead cow hanging on your fork?
Is this bad that I'm eating meat?
Let me know what you guys thought of this clip in the comments. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so you guys get notified when we post new videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.